Now at 4, a deadly house fire investigation. What neighbors are saying about the women found inside.
And take a look at this. Gloriously, we are finally at freezing and going to go even warmer, but don't get used to it. It's about to cool down in a big way.
And DEI is out and MEI is in. Reaction to the state's new hiring process. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
Good afternoon. An Indianapolis man took the witness stand today in his own defense.
He is hoping to avoid being found guilty of murder in the shooting death of a Dutch soldier. Our Rich Nye was the only reporter covering the trial today, and he was there with his camera. He's here tonight to bring us the testimony of Shamar Duncan.
Yeah, Felicia and Dustin, Shamar Duncan admits that he fired the shots. Those shots hit 3 Dutch soldiers outside the Hampton Inn in downtown Indy in August 2022. But Duncan says he did not intend to kill anyone. Duncan told the jury today that he went downtown with his 2 brothers that night looking to meet women. He says a woman with the Dutch soldiers made a comment that annoyed him and his brothers. Words were exchanged and a fight broke out on South Meridian Street. The fight ended with Duncan's brother getting knocked to the ground. Duncan and his brothers got in a truck where he had a gun in the back seat. The truck made a U-turn and drove by the hotel where the soldiers were standing outside. Duncan fired at least 9 shots at the hotel entrance. Commando Simi Putsama was hit in the back of the head and died. Duncan had trouble explaining his intentions.
Just kind of angry, probably that, the situation that just happened. So just kind of, I wouldn't say making a statement, but like saying it's not okay, or, it's not okay what just happened.
Duncan was the first and only witness for the defense on day 4 of the trial. Closing arguments are tomorrow morning before the jury will begin deliberations. And Duncan is charged with murder, 2 counts of attempted murder and disorderly conduct. Now the defense is asking the jury to find Duncan guilty of a lesser charge of reckless homicide.
All right, Rich, thanks very much.
And this afternoon, a woman is dead following a house fire on the city's south side near East Raymond Street and I-65.
Firefighters got to that house around 9:45 last night. Today, our Chase Howell returned to the neighborhood to speak with neighbors about that woman. Chase, what can you tell us?
Those who live near the home tell me the woman in her 70s mainly stayed to herself, but would often give out beautiful cards to those in the neighborhood. I also learned the now charred house was the woman's childhood home that she moved back into about 20 years ago. James Spears, who lives behind the home, had known the woman since she was 16 years old. He says in the last year or so, she started to have health problems, so his son would often go over to help her around the house and bring her food. He says losing her in that fire Wednesday night was like losing part of his family.
We know she was gone, because there ain't no way, the way that my boy said that fire was going, they could have got in and got her out. They done had the windows knocked out. The house next door pretty well burnt the side. It hit pretty good, I guess.
Right now, IFD says the fire was accidental and they are still trying to figure out the cause of the fire. And ahead at 6, I'll show you Ring doorbell footage of the home going up in flames. Reporting here in Indianapolis, Chase Howell, 13 News.
And we continue with weather this afternoon. It has been a cloudy Thursday.
Yes.
I was like, I don't know where you're going with this.
I was going to help you out, but I had no idea.
Same.
It is Thursday.
It is
Thursday.
Or Friday Junior, as we also like to call it.
Junior.
Yes.
Yummy.
Do you bring-
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, are you bringing good news for us this afternoon?
It depends on what you're a fan of, because
Okay.
I have a little bit of everything in the forecast. I know you're a snow lover, and while there is a chance for some snow in the forecast, it's small and it's not the biggest story, I think. I think the first immediate concern is just how much warmer we're going to be. Temperatures are warming up. We're actually near or above freezing for some of you. So let's take a look outside and talk about the clouds that are in place. We saw them in that camera earlier, but they've really filtered back in. We had some sunshine early this morning. That was nice, but things have really changed as we've gotten into the afternoon, and we even had a few flurries that popped up. I think those flurries are probably going to push on through. They're not showing up too well here on our infrared satellite. Let's talk temperatures. 35 for Shelbyville. How's that? Temperatures certainly warming up above freezing, really south of Indy, near or maybe below freezing if you're north and east of Indy. I think your temperatures will cool down a bit. Keep in mind, these are 15 to maybe as much as 20 degrees warmer than where they were yesterday at this time. So there is a warming trend, and we'll go even a little bit warmer for tomorrow. Not cooling down a whole lot for tonight. Still some west winds. Also some cloudiness to stay with us. I'm actually hoping the clouds stay with us because they may limit the amount of fog that's going to develop for tonight. As the temperatures drop into the 20s, we may get some more patchy fog that's going to develop. We'll watch for that, especially given how cold the ground is with still some ice and snowpack on it. So watch for a little fog overnight and through the early morning. But the big story in the short term, look at this, approaching 40 degrees for tomorrow with a good bit of sunshine as well. We are expecting some sunshine for the second half of the day. Don't get used to this though. When I come back, I'm going to talk about just how much colder we will be, perhaps the coldest temperatures so far of the season. Let's talk traffic briefly. Overall, looking pretty typical. A couple of minor accidents that are popping up on the board, but nothing that overall is delaying any of the traffic. We do have the typical slowdowns in all of the usual suspects. As far as traffic cameras, let's talk about a couple of those. I like to look to Interstate 65 to get a good idea of maybe where things are at the moment. Interstate 65 southbound. Let's see if my traffic computer wants to go to that, because we have seen some volume begin to pick up just a little bit. It's not a lot of traffic. In fact, that's looking pretty good, although it looks like we've adjusted the camera there to 70-65. I do think we're going to see volume continue to build as we get into the later half of the afternoon. Of course, if we have any issues on the interstates, I'll let you know about it.
All right, thank you so much. And in just a few hours, city leaders are expected to talk about Indy's snow removal policy.
And we've heard some complaints about how long it takes to clear streets, and some neighbors saying their streets aren't getting plowed at all. It's something we asked DPW and the City County Council's Public Works Committee about, and some of those councilors are questioning the city's snowplow plan.
The interim DPW director will be at the council's Public Works Committee meeting to address those questions. Councilors have also proposed an ordinance to make sure residential streets are getting cleared.
Our Lauren Kostick has been following this story closely. She's going to be at that meeting this evening and will let us know what comes out of it. You can also find her stories about all this on our website, WTHR.com.
Replacing DEI in government with MEI. Merit, excellence, and innovation.
Well, you heard them. DEI is out, merit, excellence, and innovation is in for Indiana state government employees. This latest executive order is part of Braun's first actions as governor. So we want to explain it. Here is what the executive order says. The order expands by saying all executive branch state agencies should not use state funds, property, or resources to support diversity, equity, of inclusion, positions, departments, activities, procedures, or programs if they grant preferential treatment based upon one person's particular race, color, ethnicity, or national origin over that of another person. All right, now that that's in context, the order goes on to cite the recent Supreme Court decision connected to college admissions at Harvard University. Well, I spoke with the director of ACLU of Indiana, who is critical of this bold statement by the governor, and we talked about the potential implications of this, seeing how the state of Indiana is growing increasingly more diverse.
The state as an employer is required to have workplaces that are free of unlawful harassment and discrimination. And that's one of the biggest benefit of DEI programs is they help create and maintain a non-discriminatory environment. Eliminating those programs means that any number of state workers are now more at risk.
Another part of that executive order means the Chief Equity, Inclusion, and Opportunity Office with the governor's office is now closed. We're going to have more of that coming up at 5.
Need to get to the latest from the Middle East. This developing story here today. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that a last-minute crisis with Hamas was holding up the Israeli approval of a long-awaited ceasefire.
That ceasefire would pause the fighting in Gaza and start the release of dozens of hostages. NBC's Danielle Hamadajan has more from Tel Aviv.
Well, I'm here in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, where, as you can see, it is fairly quiet at the moment as the country prepares for the return of the hostages. The guidelines have been sent out by the health ministry to hospitals as they prepare for the return of the hostages. Some of them we know will be in very bad shape after 15 months of captivity. You can see here behind me they're building a stage for what they hope will be bigger crowds in the hours and in the days to come. For now, what I can tell you is that the mood amongst the very few people who have showed up here, amongst the family members of the hostages, is one of disappointment, but not surprise at the fact that the Israeli government has delayed now the vote to ratify the ceasefire deal. That was supposed to take place this morning. The Israeli prime minister is saying that Hamas is now reneging on parts of the agreement without clarifying what these issues are exactly. But Hamas has said that they are still committed to this agreement. Now, the ceasefire is supposed to come into effect on Sunday, and we knew that this was a fragile truce, but this delay proves just how fragile it is. During this entire time, since the deal was first put on the table back in May, both sides have accused each other of being the main obstacle. We also know that one of the last sticking points that was negotiated is the name of the Palestinian prisoners to be released in exchange for the hostages. Now, we were told by senior Israeli officials that the number of Palestinians to be released will all depend on the number of hostages who come back alive. Danielle Hamamdin, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
We are just getting started. Much more to come. Throwing TikTok a lifeline, the possible 11th hour option to keep the social media app here in the U.S.
And a change with the IRS. What you need to begin filing starting this year.
And I hope you're going to enjoy the next 24 to 48 hours because it is going to be a bit warmer. But once that warm air moves out, the cold air is going to settle in and it's going to be the coldest it's been likely this season. I'll explain coming up.